Greetings, everyone. Well, today we revisit a movie that I don't think I actually saw since it was in theaters. Yeah, so that's going back a bit. Now, that said, I was surprised in rewatching it by just how much I actually remembered. So, this is definitely one that makes a lasting impression. Because, I mean, it came out. When did it come out? It was like 19 something. Let me see when it came out. 1990. 1990, so 24 years ago. Wow, that's a long time ago. And yeah, what can I say? Good movie, and definitely leaves a lasting impression. I'm, of course, talking about the absolutely fantastic film adaptation of Stephen King's Misery. Yes. Now, I'm sure most of you have seen this, or at least aware of it. Yeah, got a fair amount to say about it. It's not going to be super long, I don't think, but yeah, definitely a good film. Definitely. I always say that, don't I? Anyway, Misery today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Ooh. Welcome back. Yeah, this is one that I had been wanting to pick up for a very long time. This, of course, is the lovely limited edition faceplate release. Now, I should say something about the Blu-ray itself that comes with this edition. As bare bones as it gets. There isn't even a freaking trailer on there. But, yeah, it's literally just the movie. Nothing else. It is only the movie and nothing, the whole movie and nothing but the movie. So, yeah. Anyway, can't complain too much because it's a freaking great movie. One thing I had forgotten, actually, is just how freaking amazing Kathy Bates is in this film. I remember when I first heard about it, I saw an interview with Rob Reiner. He was on one of those late night talk shows. Might have been I think it was Arsenio Hall, the original Arsenio Hall show. And he was talking about how he discovered Kathy Bates. She was doing some kind of stage play at the time, and he saw her, and I guess he was looking for his Annie Wilkes to be in the movie, and was having a heck of a time finding someone who could really, give the role the weight and the depth that it needed, because it's a very complex character. And he saw Kathy Bates in this stage play, and he was just blown away. And he's like, "Yeah, definitely, she's gonna be my Annie Wilkes." So at the time, Kathy Bates hadn't really done very much film work. She was mostly a stage actress. So needless to say, this was her huge breakout role. Everybody saw Misery, and Kathy Bates was very quickly a household name, and very justifiably so because she's absolutely amazing in the role as the obsessive fan, making James Caan's life a living hell. So the story is fairly straightforward for the one or two of you who don't know. James Caan plays a writer who is basically wanting to shake things up a bit in his career. He's had a very successful career doing a series of kind of potboiler adventure romance novels called featuring the main character named Misery. Basically, Misery is the female protagonist of the stories, and he's had quite a lot of success writing a whole series of them. And he's decided that he wants to end the series and move on and write other things, because he doesn't really, as much success as he's had with it, it's not really what he wanted his career to be. He wants to branch out and explore and do other, more original stuff. He kind of feels like he's retreading the same ground over and over again just to get a steady paycheck, but he wants to push the envelope a little bit and do some different things. So he's written a new book that, he's trying to convince his publisher to go for and such. And the publisher's a little wary because he's he's had so much success with Misery, and he doesn't want to rock the boat, doesn't want to upset the gravy train, but she's willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. So he's bringing the manuscript to the publisher to have her check it out and see what she thinks, and hopefully say yay or nay. Ideally, yay. In the meantime, he has written one more novel in the Misery series, which is about to be published. And in this particular book in the saga, he decides to kill off the character. So he's on his way, taking a road trip to meet up with his publisher, and hits a terrible snowstorm on the way, and goes careening off the road and gets into a pretty serious car crash. So someone rescues him from the wreck of his car, and that someone is Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates. And it turns out that Annie Wilkes is a huge fan of the Misery novels. And so she basically takes care of him. She's a nurse, and she takes care of him and helps him get better, and he's essentially bedridden. And everything seems very, very sweet and touching. It's like, she's a big fan, and she's met her idol, and she's getting to help nurse him back to health, and it's all very nice. But there's something kind of off. It turns out that Annie is not just a fan, she's kind of an obsessive fan. So when, for example, he lets her read the manuscript of his new novel, and she's like, "Oh, it's not a Misery novel," and so he's like, "No, I'm doing something different," and she doesn't really like it. And then the new Misery novel comes out. He's stuck bedridden under her care for quite some time, like several weeks by this point. So the new novel comes out, and she reads it and gets to the end and goes nuts. She's like, "No, you can't kill off Misery. You have to write a new Misery novel and bring her back." And she basically keeps him prisoner, and psychologically and physically torments him and forces him to write this new novel, and it just gets more and more tense, and it's really, really good. So that's basically the setup in a nutshell. Is writer gets imprisoned by an obsessive fan and has to fight for his life. He has to figure out how to get out of the situation. Nobody knows where he is or anything, and it really builds the suspense beautifully throughout, and it just ratchets up the tension over the course of it. And there's these wonderful moments in terms of the acting with Kathy Bates, where she can just turn on a dime. 1 second she's all sweet and nice and wonderful, and the next second she is freaking terrifying. She really is just an elemental force in this movie that poor bedridden, wheelchair-bound James Caan has to figure out how to deal with and hopefully survive the experience. And boy, is it ever good. I forgot, like I say, I forgot just how good a movie this really is. And for all I know, I've never read the books. I'm not a big Stephen King reader, but I do enjoy the movies based on his work. My girlfriend at the time, good old Mindy, when this came out, was a huge Stephen King fan, and she had read the book, and I didn't really know much about it other than a few little tidbits that she told me about. So we went to see the movie when it came out, and she said that it was actually very faithful to the book. The only difference being is in the book she tortures him a little bit more, and it's a little more graphic. But obviously they toned it down a bit for the movie, and wanted to focus. And Rob Reiner, the director, who's an amazing director, by the way. I always remembered him as Meathead from the All in the Family, and who knew that he had this amazing director inside him. And he's done some fantastic films over the years. Just a really, really talented director. The Princess Bride being another big favorite of mine of his films. Another one based on a novel, actually, and also a very good adaptation of that novel, apparently. But actually, I think the screenplay for The Princess Bride was written by the guy who wrote the novel. So there you go. If you're going to adapt something, get the guy who wrote the book to adapt it. Then you're going to be getting all the important stuff, and he's going to be true to his own story, hopefully. Well, in that case, he definitely was. But yeah, she said that Misery was actually quite a faithful adaptation of the book, and it definitely got all the important parts right. And yeah, at some point I might actually be inclined to read it because I've always really enjoyed the story. It's a good solid suspensor, and it'd be interesting to see what aspects of it I've been missing all these years by only having seen the movie. But and I think now, in particular, I enjoy it kind of on another level that I didn't back in 1990, specifically the obsessive fan level, because I'm granted I'm not a huge internet celebrity, but I'm kind of a small seat internet celebrity. I mean, I know a lot of you have been watching for a long time, and I have a pretty decent subscriber base here on YouTube and such, and I have from time to time encountered fans that are a little creepily obsessed, and I would not want to be in a room alone with them. But it's like, thanks for the love, guys, but all things in moderation. So in that respect, I can almost relate to the plight of James Caan, thinking, oh my God, like I would hate for some. Well, obviously anybody would hate for something like that to happen to me, but just the whole idea of the obsessive fans can be a little unsettling. Especially having encountered a few of them, at least in online form, over the past few years. So, yeah, good movie, Misery. Check it out if you have not already. It's definitely well-deserved. Definitely has well-deserved status as a modern classic, and yeah, it's just a great. I mean, even if you're not particularly into horror films, it's just a really good film. The cinematography is beautiful, the acting is top notch from everybody in it, and the story's really solid. Suspense is top notch. I mean, it's a nail biter. There's no question. You will be digging your fingers into the arms of your chair as you're watching, and yeah, it's really good stuff. So, Misery definitely gets my vote. It is first class entertainment all the way. So, yeah. So just before we go, I'd like to send out a hearty thank you to a couple of my top level Patreon sponsors, Kyle Pellegrini and Nicolaus Schmidt, who basically contributed at the $25 level on the Patreon page. So thank you very, very much for the support, guys. Really, really appreciate it, and thank you to everyone else who has contributed as well. You're helping to make things happen, and that's awesome. So thank you very, very much. Yeah, so that is it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.